Hello and welcome along to Off the Court, your weekly guide to all things Vitality Netball Superleague in the company of me, Caroline Barker, and her, Tamsin, the analyst Greenway. I call you the analyst, but thanks to Manchester Thunder superfan Tom Noakes, it should be Tamsin the Cart Greenway. He's mocked you up in a cart, driving around the country, analysing anything that moves. It's brilliant. He's done perfectly. But what I want to know is, do you actually analyse anything that moves? Supermarkets, analysing what people are putting in their trolleys, how well they park, all games. How annoying is it?
Well, if you give me one of those carts, we will see. Imagine me on the road with that. I could be stopping at all kinds of things. Honestly, absolutely genius. Tom Noakes, plenty of time on his hands, but comes up with the goods.
And clearly the fact that you've thought about it so much, you've got plenty of time on your hands too. We know that's not true. Coaching a national side, analysing everything, Tamsin Greenway has much more of that to come. And this weekend, there was plenty to look at. We had record breakers again, big moves happening too. How would you sum up this weekend?
Oh, it was cracking, wasn't it? We had Wasps getting absolute thrashing really by Thunder. 88 goals. I had to look at it twice. It was an absolutely incredible scoreline. But then going on the following day to beat Rhinos, which you have to say has probably put them out of a playoff chances. We had Pulse and Dragons. I knew that was going to be pushed all the way to the wire. Dragons really took it to London. Pulse getting over the line, giving themselves a bit of breathing space in the top four. Green Noel at the end there going, come on guys, come to us, come to Celtic Dragons and see what happens. She is taking that to all the top sides, and they almost delivered. Team Bath keeping their hopes alive, clinging on in there with that win against Seven Stars as well.
That's the show. Done. Thank you for joining us. It's not. The results then, let's get confirmation of them. The wins then for Team Bath over the Stars, Loughborough Lightning over Sirens, that big win for Manchester at Wasps. Wasps coming back with the same number of goals the next day to beat Leeds Rhinos. Just shows how many Manchester Thunder concede. We'll get into that in a minute. A beautiful affair played out on Monday night. Pulse overcoming Dragons. Your table then, Thunder top over 1,000 goals. Incredible. Pulse, they've got that little advantage in third, but Mavericks still with the game to play, which they'll play on Friday. That was from round 10, if you're still following us against Bath, so they could play catch up in that one. Right, coming up, Tamsin, you're going to analyse a few more of those games. We're going to talk about a former Wasp now lightening up the court. We're joined by superstar Madi Browne to talk all things Australia and the possibility of maybe tempting her out of retirement again. But first up, the Claw. I've not gone. What was that? Toy Story. Not gone that. Eleanor Cardwell joins us. And before we bring Ellie in, Tamsin, Manchester Thunder, you've already mentioned it, the 88 at the weekend. That was after putting 80 past Storm over Easter. Wasps then still putting 57 on, like Storm with 50 the week before. Thunder, they'll still let a few in, won't they? Still let a few through, which makes it such entertaining games.
It does indeed. You're going to be in for a goal fest whenever you go and watch Manchester Thunder at the moment. At the start of the season, that was probably their area of weakness. Shadeen van der Merwe taking a while to get back on court following her injury. And they were leaking goals, which actually meant they just had to score more. You started to see these record amounts of goals going in, and they've continued it, which is even better. Is it a weakness for them? Yes, I think teams will look at it and go, well, at least we know we can score goals against them. Can you stop them scoring down the other end? It's going to be tough. I was chatting about this with Camilla Buchanan, and one of the things we were discussing is international players get to a point, like really good ones, where they just stay at this level all the time. So they're really, 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 really good. And then they have exceptional games and then they continue there. You've got other players that dip and trough all the way through the season. You've got Nat Metcalf, you've got Ellie Cardwell, you've got Laura Malcolm, you've got Caroline O'Hanlon, you've got Joyce and Vula. They don't dip and trough like this anymore. So they consistently play well, which is making it so difficult to beat them, because you might match up with one player, but you definitely can't match up against all of them. And that for me is why they're sitting pretty at the top of the table. And of course, Eleanor Cardwell, she is in a different class at the minute. I said last week, no one in England can touch her. I still believe that is the case.
For me, too much dipping in the trough has always been my downfall. Right, then talk to me about the now England shooting regular.
So here she is, Ellie Cardwell, sitting top 5 in the shooters at the moment, which is impressive, seeing most of the time she plays goal attack. We're going to pick her up here and just watch why she's so effective. Sitting off from the ball, She can drive and take on a one-on-one. Look at that pass release. She opens up the game and allows Mvula that one-on-one space. She's a playmaker. It's not just about what she can do in the circle. It's all the other tricks, flicks she brings to the game. Watch her here. This time on the second phase, she goes in. She will take 2 defenders on her because she's so dominant on a one-on-one. If you don't exit with her, be warned, you're going to get punished. She allows her to come on the one-on-one. Look at the setup. Beautiful feed to Mvula and the cut and drive to the post. It's effortless. I mean, she just finds the space and the timing. And this is where, again, she's dangerous, which is why she's sitting in the top 5 shooters. Look at her post up there. She is so strong. No one can take a ball off a one-on-one when she's in those positions. 48 goals this weekend, 47 last weekend. It's pretty spectacular.
Well, the Claw, although I don't know if she wants that to be her nickname, joins us now. Eleanor Cardwell. Have you ever been called the Claw before? Is it just this season that we keep hearing it?
Just this season. I mean, when I was young, I used to be called Inspector Gadget. That's what my mum used to call me back when I was a defender. But yeah, Claw's a new one.
Well, it's remarkable the way you take balls in. We've learned from your interactions on social media, it's all about the forearm, isn't it, and the way that you hook it in.
Yeah, I mean, my hands are pretty small, so I just have to just stick my arm instead. I mean, I'm sure Tracy will tell you I need to use 2 arms, but just use a forearm instead.
As long as it works, who cares, right? It's all about how it works,
Yeah.
and it's definitely worked this season. I know, Tamsin, you want to talk about the Commonwealth Games in just a bit, but from my point of view, Ellie, has this season, in your own mind, made you think, I can do this? I can go up against different styles, go up against different defenders, the best in the world?
You know what? I've always had a feeling that I can do it. It's just having the confidence in myself to put it out there on court and to be able to have the people around me who also gel with me. And I think this year it's just kind of clicked. I think it's been kind of coming for a little bit, and yeah, it's just good that it's happening this season. And obviously I've got great players around me like Nat and Joyce, and obviously the newbies like Lois coming up and through, who are really pushing me at training and stuff. So yeah, it's just all coming together, and we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Well, I want to pick up on the players first thing, because you mentioned Nat there, and you know she's one of my absolute faves. I loved working with her. She's come back. She's come to, from the Suncorp. She's back into Thunder. It's like she never left. You're building such a great partnership. How is that kind of developing on and off the court? And do you think that's both helping you internationally as well?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Nat's a great player. I remember playing with her back with Thunder. Was it 2016? I think with Dan, and I know there was a bit of a connection building there between me and her, and just being able to really solidify it this year, especially with her on the line and me on the line. It's been really nice to create a relationship on court, and obviously her being back in England means obviously off court as well. It's been a lot easier instead of at the Roses where obviously we only see each other a little bit. So it's been a lot easier now she's here for a longer period of time. That's a lot easier. But yeah, I just absolutely love Nat, and no matter, we can be very truthful to each other. I think that's like a great thing about our relationship. Like I can say, Nat, that ball wasn't good enough, you need to put it in this space, and vice versa. She tells me if I put a ball in a bad place, and she's like, no, Elle, you need to do this or hold this way, and we just like, I don't know, you don't see it as a negative thing. It's a very positive communication between us two, and I think that's why it's really working this year, because we are just so open and honest with each other.
Those partnerships are invaluable, and we always harp on about me and Rachel Dunn on this show. I don't know why, but that was kind of where we got to, where we could tell each other anything. I'm not sure she took it as well when I used to tell her that the ball was in the wrong spot, but we did used to have it out, and I think that matters, that kind of trust element. So you must have chatted with her about Australia, and of course, sadly, Sammy Wallace went down for Swifts, and your name was thrown about on Twitter, and I'm sure you saw it. But I need to know, are you going to go? Have you had an opportunity? And if not, why not? Because, you would absolutely thrive. And for your game, it would take it to, again, another level.
I mean, the opportunity has come about, but it's not been the right time and the right fit for me. It's kind of in COVID, and I need people around me to support me. And in COVID times, obviously, you can't bring anybody over with you; it's purely you. So I didn't have that support network that I really need around me, which is a real key thing for me to be able to perform. Obviously, I'm loving Thunder this year. Like, it's an incredible environment to be around. And if something really special has to come about for me to be taken away from this Thunder side, because I really do think it's something special. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see if the right thing comes about. But yeah, I'm definitely open to it, and we'll just have to see.
I have to. Before Caroline jumps in, because she's going to take over quickly, but if the right thing came about, so maybe Tracy Neville coaching and maybe Ellie Cardwell going out there to play, I mean, that could be a right thing, right?
We'll see. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Okay.
I think that's about 2 stories you've broken in about
Love
10
it.
seconds
Love
then,
it.
Tamsin. I mean, that would be an amazing combination. We've been speaking on this show, Ellie, about how Manchester Thunder would do actually in Australia. Just an incredible, phenomenal amount of goals that you've all been putting on. Has there been any chat in the camp about hitting 100 in a game?
100. I know before a game, when we get to the point where we're nearly at 8, well, when we were nearly at 80, we're like, guys, we need to push on to 80. And I know this game we found out that the record was 86. And I know Phil doesn't know all the stats that was when the record was, what our record was. And we're like, when we got to 80, like, guys, we actually can push on to this record now. So then it's just like in the moment, and then we'd really push each other on. And I'm not going to lie, I was gutted that we didn't get to the 90. We just needed to be a bit more clinical in those final few minutes to get to that 90. But yeah, I think each and every game, it's good to have a new goal to kind of reach. So yeah, I feel like 90 might be our next one. 100, we'll see. But 90 might be our next game.
It's just brilliant to watch. We've enjoyed every moment of it. Something else I've enjoyed on social media is Nat Metcalf apparently bet you a $5 about the distance of whether you could get the ball in. We're having a little look at it now. Phenomenal. Have you got the $5 off Nat yet?
No, I haven't actually. I've not seen her since, so I know we'll have to wait and see if she brings it. I hope she brings that $5.
Yeah, it sounds like Tamsin's talking from experience there about whether it will turn up. One final thing, because we know you're off into training and life is busy for you. Our next telly game, at least on Sky Sports, we've got the streaming games across the weekend, but next Monday against Team Bath, a rerun of that semi-final. Did that hurt? I know you've already played in the season, but did that hurt? And do you take a bit of that still into it?
I mean, it definitely hurt at the time. I know I was absolutely gutted to lose that semi-final. Any loss, it hurts, but especially when it's in a final situation. Bath is always incredibly difficult. Incredibly difficult opponent, especially in that defence end. I mean, playing against Layla Buska, she's an incredible, and playing against Punter and the longest arms ever. So it's always a really good game to really crack down to in training, and you've got to come up with some new tactics to go up against these tough defenders, and come together in the attack unit especially, and try and really build the pressure in defence. So it's a different thing to think about, a new challenge, especially now we're coming into it's getting harder and harder each and every single week leading into them finals, and especially now we know we've made the semi-finals, we just need to keep pushing on. So I think this Bath game is going to be incredibly important for us running into the finals, because we need to get that consistency and we need to keep going hard and trying different tactics, setting us up ready for those semi-finals.
There's some ominous words for the rest of the league, just to improving Manchester Thunder. Can they get better? Eleanor thinks they can. Lovely to talk to you. Thank you so much for coming on. Enjoy the preparation for Bath. While you go and do that, we've got our eyes on another England potential. Right then, Tamsin, former players, you've had a few. One we're going to focus on now, former Wasps star Fran Williams, under the spotlight. Moved to Lightning this year, was in action this weekend in their 52-46 win over Sirens. Lightning's resilience is impressing you.
Yeah, definitely. I think they've rode the storm the last few weeks. Playing without Mary Chollock and playing without Nat Panagari, that would have been huge for many other teams, and yet they've maintained those wins, only just at times, but they've done enough to get themselves over the line. We've raved about players like Ella Clark, the fact that Emma Thacker's stepped up, and they've been exceptional. However, it's that defensive end for me that have got them out of trouble time and time again over the last few rounds. Fran Williams in particular was a standout, probably my player of the match actually in this game, but she was on fire. She stepped up when it mattered. 7 turnovers throughout the 60 minutes, 2 in the last quarter, and that's when Loughborough needed to dig in deep. Sirens did not go anywhere. They only beat them by 6 goals in the end, so you can just see how important William was to that group, showing massive leadership. And while we're still talking about who might make that England 12 come the Commonwealth Games this summer, Fran is still in that long squad for me.
Let's have a look at Super Fran and what she did this weekend.
So we're going to pick up Fran Williams in the last quarter against Sirens, and we're going to watch her here. Just look at her tracking on Beth Goodwin. She plays her into the corner. She comes around, a beautiful ball, unlucky to not be able to keep this in. I think actually looking back at it again, her toe did not go over the line, Gary Burgess. But again, watch her here, picking up on the second phase. She doesn't come out with the ball in this passage of play, but this is all the fourth quarter. Her tracking across Beth Goodwin. Do not take your eyes off her. Look at this, stepping up to stop the offload there. She then comes into the circle. She plays again on the offload coming out, so they haven't got an easy outlet, and they're unfortunate to get the penalty. That work rate continued for a full 60 minutes, which is why Williams was so successful during this game. And look, even having a go on that final ball over the top to Emma Barry, she was just involved in everything, and she got her just rewards. Watch this intercept into the pocket. She tracks as she comes across, and again, just an easy pickup and control out. Fran was outstanding in this game, just what Loughborough needed.
A quick word on Fran then. You mentioned England potential. She got to be ready, got to be on standby then for the Commonwealth Games. And what's her best position should she be picked?
Absolutely, she should be on standby. You never know what's going to happen in these last few months, whether that be just exceptional play and you get a last minute sort of entry in, whether that be injury, illnesses, whatever's going on, you just want to stay on the game. Where's the best position? Goal defence, without a shadow of a doubt. Probably one of the issues for her is that that's really all she offers at the moment. I always used to say to her as a young player, but if you're the best goal defence, who cares? So she can swing across to that wing defence, but it's whether they'd want cover there. You know Layla Guskoff's going to be your starting goal defencer, and rightly so. However, you want to take somebody who's going to match up against your Malawis, your Trinidads, who's going to run riot. Fran Williams could do a real job for you. And she's got that experience. She has been with the group before.
Okay, up next, we are talking Wasps Rhinos. And we've only gone and got a Rhino. Well, she nearly was. But she wore the shirt, at least, for us. Madi Browne joins us next. And you're watching Off the Court with me, Caroline Barker, and the netball stalker visionary that is Tamsin Greenway. She watches netball. If there's netball there, she's watching it, no matter what day of the week or wherever it is. Talking of nicknames, we've had the Elenator, the Franulator, the Tamsinerator. Oh, T, the original T. Let's talk about the Rhinos, who had it been a couple of years ago, and had we skipped back, we might have been seeing Madi Browne in action. We are going to see her because we're going to talk about her in just a bit. But another game to look at, and that was the response of Wasps to that Thunder Smash, and they played Rhinos next day. They won 57-52. We wanted to look at the errors, though, and the number of Apple turnovers.
Yeah, I wanted to pick up on something that Jess Delby and I were talking about last week on Off the Court. And one of the interesting things, and Jess always has a good way of saying this, the difference between the Suncorp and the Super League. And she made it, she gave reasonings behind it just without saying Suncorp was better. One of the big issues is this turnover rate. So errors, whatever you want to call it, something I concentrate on a lot as a coach. You see less in the Suncorp, you see far more in the Super League. Whilst Rhinos game was really interesting, Rhinos had to really win this game if they wanted to keep those top four hopes alive. Was still putting on a lot of goals. So it was going to be quite a crucial matchup, and the inconsistency showed on both sides, both for different reasons. In the third quarter, which is what we're going to talk about, there were 14 errors. 14. That's almost one a minute, and that was across both sides. More importantly, they only converted between them 50% of those. So you're getting the ball and you're not punishing the team for it. The errors are coming from all kinds of things, skill, tactical, technique, but they're there, and they're there across the Super League, and it's something that needs to be addressed if we want to take that next step.
Oh, can it be coached out? How long is it going to take to get through? Is it sort of a starting now? You'd hope those processes are happening. So much to go at about that, but do you feel if you took a team on right at the start of the season, given that we know we're going to have at least 2 new coaches come next season, that you could turn things around and could get that consistency?
Look, yes, you can, but it's about how you've put your programs together. I think what definitely international coaches struggle with coming over into this country is you're not just taking a team with a tactical element. So, if I showed up and took Firebird, you've got a team of ready-made full-time athletes that have been through programs and that they're training all the time. That isn't the case when you come to England. Yeah, you have a spattering of England players. You might have a few other internationals in there, but you've also got a group of players that are working full time. So there's this big disparity. So what you have to do over here is not only look at the tactical elements, but you have to upskill a player. You have to technically make them better. And that is time and effort. And a lot of the clubs don't have it. A lot of the clubs don't have the coaching support to do it, or even the access on court. That's why many of us went to programs like Bath. We were on the wall every single day, throwing and catching. It's really key. And I think what you're seeing at the moment is this big split between players that have had that access, been in full-time programs, and that haven't, and how you try and fix it. A lot of these errors are down to poor skill execution, and that's the only way to talk about it. And I think it is a big problem, and I think it's something that we need to look at. England have moved away from it, but the rest of the league need to look in and put processes in place that are going to help these players step to the next level.
All right, let's have a little look at those clips.
So this was the third quarter. It was a 13-11 quarter to Rhinos, but no one wanted to take control of the game. I remember looking up going, oh, turnover again. Oh, turnover again. What was more important to me was looking at what happens when the team gets a turnover. That, for me as a coach, is when you punish your side, is when you go at them and go, right, we've got the ball. We're going to take it to goal. We're going to get 2 on the board. So we're going to pick this up here. Watch what happens when Rhinos get this first turnover. Keep your eye on Jay Clark here as a centre playing high. They choose not to use it, and by missing that out, they play wide on the court, and that brings Amelia Hall into the mess. Turnover again to Wasps. Difference here, Jay Clark sitting back deep. This time Rebecca Airy has to nail the pass, and it's the skill execution that lets down. Wasps here get a turnover. What you want to do here is attack the game, but look at everybody coming into the mess and then having to play ball out wide again. No one coming forward. Who wants to get on the ball when you're losing? Who wants to try and take control of this game? And again, it's a skill execution that lets them down. So much to think about, whether it's structural, tactical or skill, but so much more for the teams to do.
Well, had things turned out differently, we may have been talking to you, Madi Browne, on a court, but lovely to have you with us off the court. Last time we spoke, you were out of your retirement. You're on your way to Rhinos. You were wearing a Rhinos top as well. How have things been for you?
Good. They have been obviously different than I guess I predicted originally. I was hoping to get over there and play, but my rehab just took way longer, and I had a few hiccups along the way, so my progression wasn't the way that I'd planned, which it's probably been the same thing with most injuries that I've had. I've had this vision of what it was going to look like, and it just didn't turn out that way. So the best thing for me was obviously to stay home and make sure that my health was right, and make sure that the Rhinos obviously had a fully fledged player that they could actually play, because my biggest issue was going to be I'd get over there and I actually wouldn't be able to get out there. So the result obviously came me not coming over, which was disappointing, but it was the right thing for not only the club but also for me.
Do you look at what might have been? Do you think, have one eye on the Super League and think, yeah, I'm enjoying watching it, but what fun it would have been to play in it?
Well, I actually got back to playing a little bit of netball, like just locally last year. And I think because I was so eager to get out and actually play, and I got a bit of a taste of that, which was great. And yeah, I think, now seeing Danelle Wallum back in Australia and even Dan, I wish I had have had that opportunity to play alongside her, and even Jay Clark and some of the up and coming youngsters at Rhino. I really would have loved to impart some of my knowledge and experience on them, but it just wasn't meant to be for me. So I definitely got a little bit of taste of netball and played some minutes, but I was very much an impact, 10 minutes on the court, then get me off. Like, that's all I wanted to play. I didn't want to play any more than that.
Sounds like my kind of netball. You mentioned Danelle. I know Tamsin wants to talk to you particularly about Danelle in just a moment, but a quick word on the Diamond squad from me before I let Tamsin let rip. There's been lots of contention off it. No Kim Rav, I think that seems many would have had her in best centre in the world. And no Kelsey as well, your sister, many upset about that. How is she? What do you think? You'd have picked her, right?
Absolutely. I think I would have picked both of them in my team, not only going on their experience, but their current form in the Suncorp Super Netball right now. Both of them are absolutely standouts in their positions of centre and wing attack. I think if you ask any defender in any league or any team that come up against both of them, they'd say that they're probably the hardest to play against. So it's a bit disappointing. I know obviously both of them are gutted that they're not even in the mix, but I mean, stranger things have happened, and we know that it is a really long season and anyone can be elevated at any time. So I think the best thing for them to do is just focus on what they can control, and that's putting out really good games every single week. And if something pops up, then hopefully they're the next ones in line. But yeah, both of them were really, really gutted, obviously, to not be in there, and I think they deserve to be there.
So, Maddie, I want to pick up on that. I'm not going to ask you specifically about other players that should be in it, but I know a lot has been talked about sort of the stats that go behind it. We talked to Jess Thirlby about that last week, like these overall kind of net points, net gains, what they're throwing away, what they're gaining for the team all the time. Do you think, though, we're almost focusing too much on that? It's gone are the days where we just look and go, Kim Ravillion's a really good player. She's really experienced. She's probably the best centre around at the moment. We're going to take her regardless of that. Do you think too much is focused on this, or do you think it's actually a good way to look at the game?
Oh, I think I do agree with you. I think sometimes we can be so focused on the stats. I mean, they do paint some picture, but sometimes you can watch a game, and you would know this even from commentating. You watch a game and you're like, I can't even correlate what I saw and what actually is standing in those mathematical equations. So yeah, they're important, but I agree. I think, experience, history shows that the most experienced team, doesn't matter what nation it is, going into these major tournaments are the ones that win. So you want to go with your strongest lineup, people that are in form, but also people that have experience on this international stage. It's all good and well having 1 week a game. We've obviously had 3 games in the last 7 days over here just to ram it all in before comms games comes up. But you can't underestimate what it's like to have to play day in, day out, and just the mental experience that takes. So, stats are good, but I definitely think that, experience counts for something. The hardest thing for the Diamonds was, though, they were so successful, obviously, in the quad series in January, and it's really hard to kind of pick apart or not pick something that has proven to be successful before.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So I'm going to go back to the inexperience now then, because Danelle Wallum, and you know what? I love the fact that she was like our unkept secret. We were seeing how good she was over here playing for Rhinos, absolutely smashing it. Dan Ryan knew. And there was all this hoo-ha in the off-season whether Firebirds were going to sign her, and, we know the ins and outs of that. But Australia are clearly loving her, and there's been a lot of chat about bringing to the Diamonds. Is it too soon? But she's given you guys a target shooter that you probably haven't had since Bassett has gone, and even in a different way. I mean, she can take the ball from anywhere. So we know how good Weta was in the quad series, and I think she was incredible at goal shooter. I loved it. But do you think Wallum could be the long-term answer moving forward, this sort of target shooter? Do you think she is that good, or is taking an experience to a game going to be a big risk?
Well, I mean, it's always a risk to take someone so inexperienced. I mean, she's had a meteoric rise, hasn't she? Like from, playing rhinos and just having her first lot of international kind of netball and feeling out what that was like, to then literally not being on a list, to then all of a sudden getting a contract with the Firebirds. It's been huge. And she obviously played against the Magpies. She played against experienced defender in Jiva Mentor on the weekend and probably got a little bit of a touch up and, okay, well, this is the next level again. So yeah, it would be a really big risk. I think they've got obviously a really strong target in Sophie Garvin, which we haven't seen a lot of her, I guess, back at goal shooter purely because she has to play at goal attack for a club. So I think that's sometimes the hardest things for players is at your club, you have to play a certain role and then you get into the Diamonds or into your National League and you're expected to play a totally different position or a different role within that group. So, yeah, I think it's a great achievement for her and it's really good that she's going to get a taste of it. I think she'll only just soak it up and get better even faster. And she definitely is the future, but is she the future right now? I'm not too sure just yet.
She's a wild card and we love that. We've been pushing for wild cards with England's squad. We don't know whether it'll happen or not, but fingers crossed. Maddie, you mentioned Jiva Mentor. She's coming to form at the right time. Jo Harton double MVPing it. How are our girls doing at the moment? How are they looking ahead of the Commonwealth Games?
I honestly think Jo Harton is in probably career best form at the moment. She is so formidable, but when she is on, she is fire. And it was pretty scary to watch her up against an Australian defensive lineup in the Fever and absolutely take control a lot on her own in driving it from leadership point of view. I mean, Jiva's been pretty quiet in the SSN in the first couple of rounds, but, you can't really keep a good soldier down, can you? You know that she's going to come out. She's really, really competitive. So I'm sure she'll be wanting to put in some solid performances, especially leading up into, obviously, the end of this season. But there's so much netball to still be played and everyone wants to be putting their best foot forward for national selection.
We'll get you to make the decision. No, we won't, Maddie. Don't worry. What about you then? What's going on with you? Where can we see you next?
For me, I'm obviously commentating on Fox Netball over here and I'm absolutely loving it. It's really, really good. I also teach Pilates full-time on the side. But yeah, it's really nice to be back in the netball space. I think I had a bit of a gap here, a year away, obviously to focus on my body and just to kind of feel what was the next thing for me. But yeah, I'm loving being out there and enjoying that type of space. And it's kind of fun connecting with your old teammates that are also commentating and reconnecting. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it and hopefully imparting some sort of experience and netball knowledge on the game. I don't know whether people care, but who knows? I just see it and say it and we'll see whether they enjoy it or not.
Which is the best way, and they definitely are enjoying it. Maddie, thank you so much for coming on Off the Court. We'll catch up just for a Pilates session, actually, really, and stretch. I know I put my shoulder straight back at that point. Thank you for coming on, Maddie. Here's what else is coming up this weekend. So there's about 3 or 4 different rounds combined in one because we've got rearranged games for some that were postponed earlier in the season, finally getting everything done before the big run-in. Friday sees Rhinos Lightning, Team Bath against Saracens Mavericks. Saturday stars Pulse, Storm Sirens. I don't know why I always have to sing the name. Sunday Wasps, Storm. Monday Sirens, Leeds Rhinos. And Thunder Bath rounds things off live with us on Monday Night Netball. I'm going to hazard a guess, stick a pin in it. Either of the Team Bath games, you're going to salivate over Tamsin Greenway.
This is Bath's big weekend. This is their last hurrah for me. They have to at least take one of these games, and it will not be easy. They are clinging on in top 4, but some of the losses they've suffered earlier in the season have put them in this dodgy position. So the Mavs game on Friday is crucial. I want to see how they get on there because I think getting over the line against Thunder is going to be really, really tough. But yeah, keep your eyes peeled for Bath. I certainly will be.
Every time I take a bath, I'm in a dodgy position. Can't get out of it. There's one other thing to talk about this week. I know we've looked at loads of social media already, but did you see the photo that was posted up from Fiona's tweet? This is Layla Gusketh, Amanda Very, working in the ICU. Just brilliant and worth reminding ourselves. We spoke to Eleanor Cardwell. She works full-time. Look at how she's tearing up the league. These quality players that are going to do it on the biggest stage, not just holding day jobs, excelling in day jobs. Brilliant women across the league. Well done, everyone. Which means we're going to go off. You're going to go and cook your fish fingers. I'm going to go and order some dinner as well and be equally excelling in the art of cooking. Thank you, Tamsin Greenway. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Do get in touch. Use the hashtag #OffTheCourt. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.